Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful Wednesday in Conversations with Coach. I hope everyone has had a great day, and I hope your week has been going great. I am so looking forward to tonight's show. And I don't know about you, but for some people, the holiday season, if you celebrate the holidays, it can be fun, but for some, it can also not be a fun time. Earlier this week, I did a survey and I put it out on my social media. And I just asked a question: how do you feel during the holiday season? And of those who participated, interestingly enough, 76% said that they felt happy. 18% said that they felt depressed, and 5% said that they were either sad or they experienced grief during the holidays. That may not come as a surprise to any of you, or it may come as a surprise that there would be some people who were depressed or sad or had grief during the holidays. For our show today, we are going to be talking about depression and grief during the holidays. And I have a very special guest that I'm going to be bringing in just a moment. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about her. She is an author and a coach. She's also a wife, a working mom, and not only is she a coach, but she's a certified personal development and executive coach. And she's also a speaker who loves sharing what she has learned. Her mission is to help working mothers prioritize themselves and their dreams at the top of their to-do list. Now, we can all get into that. She wants to create a winning strategy to help them achieve their goals. Join me in welcoming my special guest this evening, Karla J. Noland. Welcome, Karla.
Thank you so much, Miss Coach Christina. It is a pleasure and it's an honor to be with you here today.
I am so happy to have you. I know that what I didn't share with the audience is that we actually are fellow graduates of CAP Institute. So we kind of met each other virtually spent for the first 6 months of this year intimately together twice a week while we were
Yes.
going through our certification.
Yes.
And I am so proud of you. And we're going to get to talk about it a little bit later with the release of is it your first book?
Yes. First book. Yes.
I am so excited about that. That is awesome. That is awesome. So, those of you that are watching, why don't you all put some love in the chat for Karla and congratulate her on her first book? And as I said, we are going to be talking about that in just a moment. So, Karla, I was sharing, and you might have heard it while you were in the green room. I was sharing with our listening audience and viewing audience that I have put out a survey on my social media earlier this week. And because most of the time when people think about the holidays, everybody gets so busy in the hustle and the bustle, and they are looking at their list of things to do, holiday parties to go to, gifts to buy. And sometimes we get lost in the fact that holidays may not be a fun or happy time for others. And interestingly enough, the statistics just from my little tiny survey showed that 76% of the people are happy. However, 18% that responded experienced depression, and 5% who responded either experienced sadness or grief. And tonight we are going to be talking about depression and grief during the holidays. And so, with that being said, I would like for us to go into our very first talking point. And I would like for you to share what emotions and the holidays, what does that talk about your experience with that?
Well, my experience is twofold, right? One was the grief and depression and loss of not being able to be with my children. So many of us have a situation where we're a blended family and we have to rotate these holidays, right? And you're so used to having your children Christmas Day wake up and get to their presents, but it's not your time, right? Your time is next year. And that first time that I experienced that, that was rough for me. Yes, there was extended family and friends to support me, but I didn't take the time to grieve that loss of what I was experiencing. So that's one, and I'm going to get to how I coped. And the second one was my mom passed away in November 27, 2019, the day before Thanksgiving. If anyone knows me, I'm a foodie. And my mom, born, raised in Trinidad, she is known for her cooking, right? So we look forward to our holidays with my mom. She would come to visit, we would visit her. And that day when she passed away, the holidays were never the same, right? I really had to take the time, and this is key, to not only label my emotions of how I'm feeling, sad, angry, mad, shocked, depressed, but I also had to embrace those feelings, because the key to this is we cannot heal what we're not willing to reveal. That's why it's very important to label and embrace your emotions. You really have to give yourself space and give yourself permission to give yourself space to grieve, right? Grief is not a negative emotion. We're
Right,
honoring that loss, and we're giving, acknowledging it, and we're giving space for ourselves, right? That's
right,
self-care. That space to like shut everything down, disconnect. If you can, take the time off of work and just sit and just breathe and just acknowledge what you are feeling. Think of it as waves in the ocean, right? Those
right,
waves come, they wash over us, they settle. It's the
right.
same thing with grief. It's a reminder that love never dies. And we have to give that space to honor those that we have lost, or those moments that we won't get back, because the picture that we've had in our head of what family looks like is no longer the same.
Absolutely. Wow, that was packed with a lot of information. I want to kind of put a pin in some of it just so that we can spend a little time with each things that you said.
Hmm.
Losing a family member right there at losing a family member anytime,
Hmm.
and especially our mom,
Hmm.
it is devastating. And connecting that with what is typically a happy time makes
Hmm.
it even more compound. Can you share with the audience, because you said that you were going to come back to it,
Hmm.
how did you cope that first Thanksgiving?
I was holding on by a thread for the first Thanksgiving. I didn't learn coping strategies until therapy. But that first Thanksgiving, like she passed away the day before Thanksgiving, and then here comes Thanksgiving. I didn't know what to do. My mom lived in Houston. I live in Durham, North Carolina. So my family we were in Houston. We were staying at her house, holding on by a thread, right? And I don't want to tear her up, but I'm so used to when we pull up to the driveway or she's picking up from the airport, we enter in the door, house filled with food and the smells, those smells that you're just accustomed to. It just like kind of like triggers like, oh, mommy's here, mommy's home, none of that was there. But I'm thankful for her best friends who welcomed us into her home, right? She's a second mom to me, and we're surrounded by friends and family. And so even though all of us were hanging on by a thread, we took the time to just be present in the moment and be grateful and thankful for all of us just sitting at this table enjoying this meal, and all of us had that shared grief.
Yes.
But we have to give God thanks in all that we do, right? And
Yeah.
just being my faith teaching me that this is not goodbye to my mom, this is see you later. So
Yes.
yeah, it was tender, but
Yeah.
I didn't do it alone. I had my husband, I had my son, my youngest, my older two I had to leave, but I had extended family and friends around me, and that's important, to
That
surround
is.
yourself with love.
Yes. And you mentioned about if you are in a blended family and you have to alternate the holidays, and that first time that it kind of hits you. It's not my turn, and
Mhm.
we have to do this holiday a little bit different, or we have to do it earlier or
Mhm.
later, and how to cope with that. And I also thought about, if you're when you're married and your spouse's family doesn't live in the same city, and you're
Mhm.
having to, but your family celebrates it pretty big, and you're having
Mhm.
to say, okay, well, this year we're going to go to the spouse's family.
Mhm.
Talk about how you coped with that first time that you didn't have your children with you to celebrate.
Okay, so that was unhealed Karla. So unhealed Karla did not have the coping strategies, did not have the therapy sessions, did not have the whole coaching training we have went to, right? So I'm speaking on behalf of unhealed Karla, and we're gonna quickly come back to the healed Karla and the present Karla. So unhealed Karla didn't have any coping mechanisms. I was not present in my body. I wasn't even acknowledging how I was feeling. The emotions were still raw because I just got an aha moment. The first holiday without them was Thanksgiving.
Mm.
Yeah, with my older two was Thanksgiving. So I didn't have any coping mechanisms. At the time I was I don't even know if I was even dating my husband at that time, but I know he invited me over to his family's house. So I was thankful that I did have a place to go, friends to surround me, but I did not take the time to mourn that. I was a hot mess. I was all over the place, right? The separation was new. The
Right.
first holiday without them was new. No cope. I was a hot mess. I didn't cope. I did
Right.
not cope, but it is not till again I got present in my body. I sought professional help because I wasn't coping. I was out here a hot mess all over the place, right? And I had to take the time to heal. I like what you said about we can start new traditions, right? We have to honor and grieve the past, right? How we used to do things is no longer, but we can do new traditions. Okay, what's your schedule like? My older two play basketball, right? So in between your tournaments, when do you want to meet up? What do you want to do for the holidays? We can do this however you want to do it, right? We can create new realities for ourselves, right? Now we're a blended family. I'm married. I also have a younger son, right? So how can we incorporate our traditions, and then with a blended family I also have a bonus son, right?
Mhm.
He's in rotation as well. So
Yeah.
what can we do together as a family? It's not going to look like that picture that we see in the movie, like the Hallmark or the Lifetime movie. Throw that out the window.
It's
Come
not
on
like that.
now. You can create your own realities, right?
Yeah.
How you want it to look like for yourself. And you build these memories that are amazing, right? That
Right.
your family would treasure. But again, give yourself space to honor and grieve what was is no longer, but you're creating something
Absolutely.
new.
I love it. I love it. And that's a good segue into the next topic. Moving forward in grief.
Mhm.
Talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, that's the main reason why I wrote the book, and there's also a companion bereavement journal as well that accompanies the book, because, like I said earlier, grief is not a negative emotion, and it's also not an emotion that you can get over, or I'm gonna just put myself into my work, or I'm gonna like. Even though I wrote a book, y'all, I was crying, typing, crying through it, right? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I had a vision of what I wanted for the book, but the grief is still going to come. Grief is still coming. Grief is
Yeah.
still there. It's not going to go anywhere because, again, it's reminding us that love never dies. Love is a powerful emotion.
Yeah.
So I'm moving up. Grief is going to be with me because I'm always going to miss my mother, right? She's a part of me. I'm wearing blue today in honor of my mother. It's her favorite color, right?
Yeah.
So I carry bits and pieces of her each and every day to acknowledge her, to honor her, even with what I do. But that grief is always going to be there. So what I'm doing is I'm moving forward in the grief. Now, I also want to talk about mental health because it's really important. And this is where depression comes in. Depression is isolating, and I'm raising my hand because I have battled with depression, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So depression, you're isolated, you're
Yeah.
alone with your thoughts and your feelings,
Yes.
right? That inner critic, those negative core beliefs, they start bubbling up, and then what you focus on grows. You're focused on everything negative. So I'm here to tell you, if you have lost hope, if you can't even get out of the bed, you are stuck. This is time for you to seek professional help, professional therapy to help you in that, right? Because if it's debilitating and you're unable to move, you have to get help. It's no different if my arm was hanging off, right? And I'm bleeding. I'm not going to slap a band-aid on and say, "Oh, I'm going to be all right."
Right.
No, you need to seek professional help. And our scars let us know that we can heal, right?
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. And so I want everyone to know that with Carla mentioned her book and the companion journal and the title of it is The Day My Heart Turned Blue. And as she mentioned, this chronicles her healing journey after the death of her mother, which she has been talking about. And this is how she has been able to find her strength to turn her pain into purpose.
Hmm.
And can you share? So for you, you found it to be very therapeutic and cathartic to write. Share with those who are viewing and those who may view and listen later on the rebroadcast,
Hmm.
outside of journaling and writing, what are some other ways to process in a healthy way grief and depression?
Hmm. After and again, everyone processes grief differently, so I'm just giving out examples for me. I just want to preface that, right? I'm not a therapist, I'm a coach. There is a difference, and that's a different topic for Coach Christina. But for me, outside outside of journaling, right, outside of putting my creativity into different areas, I find honoring my mom and the things that she liked to do, that was helpful in my grief. So my mother was big. She's a Christ follower, and she's really big on mission trips and traveling and giving back and serving. So I'm big on that as well, serving in my community. Um, Serving in my community, what I'm doing in my practice, what I'm doing in my writing is to help others, right? I'm in service. I feel like one thing that I wrote about is that we always think about leaving a legacy to our children and the generations behind us, but what would it look like to actually live a legacy?
Oh, I like that.
Right?
Live a
Live that
legacy.
legacy now. So in honoring my mother and her untimely passing, what am I doing now with the time that I have? So each day I'm waking up with intention. Each day I'm waking up with purpose, right? And for you, it doesn't have to be a book. For you, it could just be in your grief, giving yourself the time for self-care. Show yourself self-care and self-compassion. You just went through something tragic, right?
Yes.
I find myself now, like all those times that I have been people inviting me different places just to have fun, right? There's a difference in busyness, but there's a different when people just they really like you, they really want to be around you. And a lot of times I'm like, I don't know. But those were times that I really didn't feel good about myself. So I took that time to work on my self-care. But now I'm saying yes more, right? I'm
Yes.
saying yes more, which is opening opportunities. I'm having fun more. I'm now moving from surviving to thriving in life. I'm
Yes.
enjoying life. And that's what it's all about, because again, that isolation leads to depression, right? But when we're in a
Excellent.
community like this, where we're sharing, where we're talking about what we're going through, it inspires others to do the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to continue talking about your book,
Hmm.
The Day My Heart Turned Blue.
Hmm.
And I want you to share with those who are a part of our audience exactly how the journal works
Hmm.
in tandem with the book.
Hmm. Well, it can work in tandem or it can work separately, right? So the book is about my healing journey, what you said earlier, but the journal now is about your, that's people out here, your healing journey. So in the journal, I have sections for you to write out how you're feeling, right? They're called daily check-ins because again, when we wake up in the morning, we need to be self-aware and present of how our body's feeling, how our mind and spirit is feeling, because we're setting the tone for the day. So in these daily check-ins in between each chapter is, for example, today I'm feeling, this is a journal prompt for you to write out how you're feeling. Today my body feels. When I think about the person I lost, I feel. Because again, if we don't reveal how we're feeling, how are we going to heal it? How are we going to thrive? So these are moments for you to write. And then in between each chapter, I'm talking about grief. I'm talking about how it impacts you in different ways. I'm talking about how the healing process. And you're going to find yourself as you're writing your journal and each day you're writing about your feelings, you're going to see how you're moving forward in grief. This journal, you're going to be able, this is yours. So you're going to be able to look back and see your growth in your grief. You're at the end of it, it talks about honoring your loved one that passes away, right? So this is your story in healing, and that's why it goes well with the book, but it can be bought on its own for you to write about your healing story.
I love it. Now, when you're thinking about both the book and the journal, who would you recommend to read the book, and who would you recommend? Who would what which individuals would you recommend both of those for?
Well, the purpose of the book was for me to encourage and inspire those who have lost a parent. So it's for the bereaved who have lost a parent. Now, the bereavement companion journal, that's just grief, period, right? Grief of a loved one, loss of end of a relationship, right? But the end, there's all turn the page, new chapter. End of a relationship. I even had someone speak to me about even the loss of a pet, right? And
Mm,
how grieving that was. So this is just all about grief. This is your healing journey is with the journal, who the journal is for.
that is
hmm
excellent. That is excellent. In terms of the age group, what age group would you recommend the journal for?
I didn't put an age on it when I published it, because again, it's all about the individual and the processing of it. When you talk about feelings, today I feel, my 9-year-old can answer that question. Even if I have to put up a feeling chart of the different emojis and the expressions on their faces, right? He can express that. So I would say up to the age where they can write, up, right? Mhm.
That's excellent. I think that would be a great way, especially the first time that a child experiences death.
Yeah.
It's scary, and it's difficult for children to be able to express their feelings, and especially in words. That and so a lot of times they'll keep it
Mhm.
bottled up because they don't really understand it, and then when it does come out, it might come out in actions that
Mhm.
uh, where they're acting out, or
Right.
their grades might suffer, and it just might be because they can't get out those feelings. And
Mm,
so I really love the fact that you have done this
mhm.
journal, and that you've written it not just for a specific age, but that, as you just shared, that even children, because the way the prompts are written, that
Mhm.
even children would be able to share those feelings.
Yeah,
What
right.
would
And
you
I like how you said about when you bottle up your feelings. Again, we can't hear what we don't reveal. When you bottle the feelings, they come out in different ways. And
Right.
behavior is the way that a child communicates. So a lot of times we talk about, oh, that child is acting bad or whatnot, but they're communicating something that they're unable to address with their words. So I really like
Mhm.
the way you said that.
Thank you.
hmm
What now that we are literally, so today is what, the 8th?
hmm
We are, what are we, 17 days away from Christmas?
hmm
What would you say to anyone who is in the category where they're sad, depressed, or they're experiencing grief right now? What would you say to them that could help them to move forward one more day?
Mhm. I would say give yourself permission to grieve. Give yourself that space to grieve. Show yourself compassion, right? This is not a negative emotion. Embrace that sadness. If you're unable to move forward, seek professional help, seek the support of your family, faith-based community. There's also lots of other mental health organizations. You do not have to suffer alone. And then I wrote a little note here to say that to ask the question, how do you want to live your life moving forward? What does the other side of healing look like for you? And how would you live each day with intent and purpose, honoring your loved one that has passed away?
That is good. I'm going to actually have you repeat those three questions again,
Okay.
and just so that they can write that down.
Mhm.
So, in moving forward, what would be the three questions that you would
Mhm.
have someone to ask themselves?
Okay. I did it kind of off the top of my head, so here we go. How would you want to live your life moving forward? And then how would you live your life with intent and purpose, honoring the life of your loved one? And I forgot the first question that I said. Sorry, y'all, we live. I forgot the last question that I said, but I did have here a little note here to in that space where you're giving yourself time to grieve. Reflect on the memories of your loved ones and the
Mhm.
lessons that was learned through your relationship with your loved one that has passed away. That's so important. Those lessons that you learned, and that's what goes back to what we're talking about: living a legacy and not just leaving a legacy.
Exactly. Tell everyone where they can order your book and the companion journal.
Mhm. The book and companion journal is available worldwide, everywhere books are sold, online, in bookstores. You don't see it on bookstore. Ask customer service for the book, The Day My Heart Turns Blue, author Karla J. Noland. You can also go to my website, revealhealthrive.com, and you can click on books and you will see the links to purchase the book and the journal.
That is great. Carla, this has been really good and very informative. And I typically will ask my guests for final thoughts. I
Mhm.
will ask them, what is the one habit that you can share with my audience that will help them to get through their depression and grief this holiday season?
I'm going to keep saying it. Embrace your emotions, acknowledge them. Your emotions can also be your teachers. There's teaching you that, whoa, I need to give myself some space. I need to give some space. And not only this, this is your time for you to ask of your loved ones around you, what is it that you need? You know, is it a hug? Is it time? Is it, can we just watch a movie together, not talk about anything? I want you here, but I just really need to I need to, divert my attention elsewhere. Can you just sit with me? This is your time to ask, what is it that you need? And that's in a journal as well. What is it that you need?
That is great. I appreciate you so much for coming on and sharing with us, sharing your new book, The Day My Heart Turned Blue, and your in its companion journal. Everyone watching, you can follow Karla J. Nolan. Follow her on Instagram at Reveal Health
Heal.
Heal Thrive. Reveal Heal Thrive. I always want to put those together for some reason.
Hmm.
You can also order the book from directly from our website, but it's also worldwide on at wherever you order or get your books from. And this is her website as well. Thank you again so much for joining us. And before I close out the show this evening, I want to share with you all that my guest for next week is going to be Coach Robin May. She's also a therapist. And the topic for next week is going to be coaching versus therapy. Our guest this evening did mention that there is a difference between coaching and therapy, and we coaches do recognize that. So I want you to mark your calendars and be ready to tune in for that. I also have been putting on my social media that for 2022, I am coaching. The Coach Conversations with Coach has created a YouTube channel. And I need for all of you all to head on over there and subscribe to the YouTube channel. This way in 2022 we will be able to broadcast not only on Facebook, but we're going to add in YouTube, and we will more than likely add in LinkedIn. But I need my faithful followers to definitely go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube. Be sure to reshare to share the rebroadcast of tonight's episode, and please go out and purchase Karla's book, The Day My Heart Turned Blue, and to share that with someone who you know might be going through the grieving process because of the loss of a loved one, the loss of a pet, or just loss in general. Thank you all for tuning in to Conversations with Coach, and I'll see you all next week.